Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and we are talking about trades. That's right, it's time to buy low and time to sell high. This time, it's about the wide receivers. So as we transition our conversations of trades to wide receivers, to help me break it down, of course, from Fantasy Points, Brian Drake, one of our favorite people here. I know he is very excited to move on to week 2 and make some deals. And Andrew Erickson, also here as well to help us break down some of these guys. And I know it's tough. I know you look at these landscapes of these leagues and you say, it's week 2, nobody's making trades. Nuh-uh, they are, because we see them everywhere. And to help you make the best trades that you could possibly make sure you download our My Playbook tool right now. Download the app, sync all of your leagues, use the tools that we have out there. Use Trade Central to locate your strengths and weaknesses and find trade partners with the Trade Finder and the Trade Analyzer to make the best moves to put you in the best situation to succeed. That's what we're trying to do here at Fantasy Pros. Use the tools, check them out. If you never have, they're fun, if nothing less. Come on, Brian Drake, you're fun. Let's talk about some wide receivers here that might be not long for certain teams. And we're going to start with one of them who did not play in week 1. He is the most traded wide receiver on Sleeper right now. His name is Cooper Kupp. So we're starting out with a big name here. Cooper Kupp, obviously dealing with those hamstring injuries. We had Dr. Chow on our microcast last week talking about that and said, hey, look for Saturday to him to go on the IR officially. And of course he did. Now the question is, do we want to roll with Cooper Kupp? I know the upside is huge. I know in fantasy points per game, the guy's an absolute rock star, Drake. But at the same time, the risk is enormous. There's a scenario you could write where Cooper Kupp maybe doesn't play much, if at all, this year. I know that sounds terrible, but do you want to buy, do you want to sell, or do you want to hold Cooper Kupp?
I would buy if I could do it extremely cheap. I am a cheap, frugal man. Thanks, Dad, for instilling that in me. We saw what Puka Nacua could do in that role in the Rams offense, and you can get 15 targets. Everyone goes, wow, where'd this guy come from? Oh, I forgot he's playing the Cooper Kupp role. So, yes, Cooper Kupp would be a massive, massive value if he comes back and he gets back to being Cooper Kupp that we know and love. Do I think that's going to happen with a guy at his age with the hamstrings? You don't fly across the country for a hamstring when you're living in Los Angeles. They got plenty of good doctors out there, okay? So there's a major concern here with Cooper Kupp. I'm steering clear. I'm going to let him be somebody else's problem. If I'm trading him away, God bless you. Good luck. Hopefully he comes back and leads you to the playoffs. Give me an asset that I know I can put in my lineup right now. And he's much younger than Cooper Kupp, who I think is on my, 60 and over softball team that plays later tonight.
Well, Drake, to that point, Cooper Kupp, I know there's a guy out there named Keenan Allen, who is also a guy no stranger to injury, but he's playing right now. He comes with risk. He comes with age. So who would you rather have rest of season? Would you rather make a deal on the Cooper Kupp side or the Keenan Allen side?
I'm keeping Keenan Allen. I mean, he's healthy today. We don't know if that's going to last. But I love the offense. I love that it seems like their defense can't stop anybody besides having, this guru at defensive coordinator / head coach and Brandon Staley. But they seem to always be in a shootout. So, yeah, and Mike Williams is already banged up. So, yeah, pass funnel to Keenan Allen. Give me the ageless wonder, Keenan Allen, who is a sub on that same softball team, by the way.
Oh, yes. I mean, they're all hanging out together for sure. All right, Cooper Kupp or T. Higgins for you, Andrew Erickson. Let's get you involved in this conversation. T. Higgins coming off, let's say the Bengals were coming off a disappointing week 1. Let's just put it collectively there. So there's opportunity when it comes to T. Higgins, and there's fear in the marketplace with Cooper Kupp. So who would you rather have rest of season? Would you rather have Kupp or T. Higgins?
T. Higgins for me. I know at the end of the day, when we look up at the conclusion of 2023, T. Higgins is going to be a wide receiver too. Like, that's just what he's done ever since entering the NFL. And obviously he started out like horrible, just like all the Bengals did, but he's going to finish where he's always done. So I feel so confident with that versus Cooper Kupp, where I'm like, look, his production is going to come down from where it's been when he was been healthy, like, because he was scoring more points than anyone else. Like, it's going to decrease. It's going to regress. Just like part of him missing games is part of that regression. Like, his total points are not going to be as good. So I think that Cooper Kupp, I think that he's realistically probably going to finish more as like a fantasy wide receiver 1 back end, not in the top 5 conversation. And with that, even that's concerning if he's healthy, I would just so much rather have T. Higgins. It's an asset that I feel way more confident about, that I can start every single week and not worry about, is he coming back? Are the hamstrings healthy? Again, he's a 30-year-old wide receiver. guys don't get better when they get old, especially when they're dealing with injuries.
Hey, I'm right here. Jeez,
it's a ticking time bomb that could just totally self-destruct on your roster. So I just don't want it.
Here's a question for you. Drake was talking about, I'd like to buy Cooper Kupp if I could buy him extremely cheap. If you have Cooper Kupp, should you be considering selling cheap just to get something if, God forbid, the worst should happen? Like, is that something you should really be entertaining? And I don't mean like dirt cheap, but you're not going to get full value for Cooper Kupp. I think we all know that. And maybe Keenan Allen and T. Higgins are even too high on that trough. But would you even be looking for somebody in that, wide receiver upside range there, and those guys between 2 and 3, or maybe a package of a couple guys to make up that difference for Kupp, Andrew?
I would. Yeah, I mean, if I got stuck with Kupp, because the chances are we didn't draft him willingly, knowing about all of his injuries, unless he fell significantly in drafts, because the report with him is so much later, and especially like in the Jonathan Taylor situation. So you probably drafted Kupp pretty high, and you're like, I'm stuck with this guy. Well, maybe not, because people are trying to buy. People are trying to fish for a deal, and if you can get a talented, what about Zay Flowers? Talented rookie wide receiver. It's like...
Not from me. You're not getting Zay Flowers from me.
But people might think, oh, this is a flash in the pan. Mm-hmm. Like, he's a rookie. And I would just be like, please take Cooper Kupp. Take my self-destructing bomb. Please take him. I don't want him.
Who's got 2 thumbs and had Zay Flowers higher than anybody else on Fantasy Pros rankings? Oh, this guy right here, Joey P. That's who. Love me some Zay Flowers. Some crazy stats coming out on him, too, as we start to look at the metrics of that game. Let's also go and switch gears to another wide receiver. We're going to talk about the guys to buy low and sell high. Plus, we're going to do the 3 and out as well on some more of your listener mailbag questions. I want to talk about Mike Williams, because this is another guy right behind Cooper Kupp. Already people are saying, well, I want to trade. I'm scared of Mike Williams, but you had to know what you were getting into with Mike Williams in the first place. So at the same time, this one sort of is odd to me, but Erickson, we'll start with you on this one. Mike Williams, do you want to buy low? Do you want to sell high? Do you want to sell it all? Do you want to hold him? What do you want to do with Mike Williams?
So the key with Mike Williams, and this is always the play, is you always buy him after he comes up horrible games, and then you sell him when he has these monster performances, because you know it's not going to last. So right now, because he's coming off a bad game where he was also like dealing with like an injury, I would buy him for free. Like, you can get, like, the owner that drafted him is super frustrated to be like, oh, here we go again with Mike Williams. But it's like, good matchup this week. Tennessee Titans.
Right.
Got shredded. It's like, this is a week where you could see Mike Williams having a boom affair, and then he booms, and then you put him back on the trade block, and then you profit, and then you move away from Mike Williams. So just the rhetoric around him being so negative. Look, he's still in the Chargers offense. Justin Herbert is still the quarterback. Austin Eckler is banged up. Again, that matters when it terms to where the target's going. If it's not going to Eckler, it's going to be more targets for some of these wide receivers. So especially with the Titans being a pass funnel defense, you can't run the ball on the Titans. Like, the Chargers are not going to have nearly as much success rushing the football against Tennessee than they did with Miami. They're going to have to throw it. And that means Mike Williams could be in for a big game that you can scoop up for free and then cash out next week.
Step 1, purchase Mike Williams in a trade. Step 2, Step 3, profit. There you go. That's an old reference if you get that. Let's go. All right, let's test the waters here in the trade markets. Mike Williams or Mike Evans, Erickson? Who would you rather have?
I think it's Mike Williams for me.
Really?
Mike Evans, okay. I think Mike Evans is also sell high. Again,
I would
got a
agree.
long touchdown. So, I'm trying to move both of these pieces. So, if you could trade Mike Evans to get Mike Williams, just kind of like flip-flop the boom weeks and just bet that, okay, it's going to be Mike Williams that explodes this week and not Mike Evans, I would probably do that.
All right. How about you, Drake, when it comes to Mike Williams or Mike Evans? What side of that trade do you want to be on?
Boy, I'll be honest, I'd be happy to get either one of those guys. Mike Evans I like because it is a very narrow passing tree in Tampa. And oh, by the way, he could get traded to a playoff contender at the deadline. Think Chiefs, think Bills, somebody that needs a big X wide receiver. Your Patriots could use one because they have
we
no
don't
one
like
who can challenge
talented big time wide receivers in New England. We're not a bit.
We have Kendrick Bourne is finally playing. It's great. They're actually putting him in the starting lineup.
That's the waiver wire show. So
don't
check for that on the
early.
Fantasy Pros YouTube feed. But no. You know what? Give me Mike Evans here, just because he's a touchdown machine. He does stay on the field, but again, with Mike Williams, it wasn't anything with a knee. It wasn't an ankle. He got evaluated for a concussion. He'll go into the protocol. We'll see if he plays this week, but he should be fine for the rest of the season. So when everyone's like, oh, Mike Williams already hurt, I'm not here to poo-poo a concussion. It is a brain bruise, but he's going to come back and play, and there's nothing physically wrong with him anywhere else.
All right, what about Terry McLaurin? Because I feel like he is going to get off to a slow start. We kind of saw that already. 4 targets, 2 receptions for 31, and he has the turf toe, which we all know takes weeks to start to look like yourself again. So do you want to take the chance on maybe the latter day version of Terry McLaurin this season, or do you want the up and down roller coaster that is Mike Williams, Drake?
I think I'd take Mike Williams there. Better quarterback.
Wow.
Better offense.
Yeah, that makes
better
sense.
Play caller. I don't want anything to do with the Commanders. Sam Howell, everyone can talk about, number one, how great his hair is, but number two, how he's throwing the football all over the place. He's the next guy. I mean, we have a very, very, very small sample size on Sam Howell, so let's slow down on him. And I just don't trust this team. I still think they're probably the 4th best team in that division. So I'm out on Terry McLaurin. I don't think I drafted him on a single team all year.
Yeah, me neither. Erickson, McLaurin, or Mike Williams? Who would you rather have? Look, the one thing about McLaurin you could say is he goes out there and he plays, and he's playing through an injury right now, whereas Mike Williams, you can't always say that he's around even to start.
Well, considering McLaurin plays the Denver Broncos this week and is going to get the Patrick Surtain treatment, I want no part of Terry McLaurin because his value is just going to keep getting worse. And I mean, rewatching that Commanders-Cardinals game, I was not impressed with Sam Howell. When they're playing legitimate defense, it's not the preseason. I was kind of like, this is a really bad defense, and he's not doing a ton. So I think that there's more long-term risk with McLaurin that if Dotson really breaks out and Sam Howell is just okay, what is McLaurin actually doing for you? I think that even as boomy bust Mike Williams is, those boom weeks, if you start him in the right week, that's going to help your team. I don't think McLaurin's going to put up 25, 30 points in any game with Sam Howell as his quarterback. Where Mike Williams, it's going to happen. You just got to make sure you have him in your lineup in those particular weeks. But it's going to happen for Mike Williams in a couple weeks because that's just the nature of his play style.
Before we get to some of the names to buy low and sell high at wide receiver, just a reminder, while we all love watching our favorite teams on television, there's nothing better than being part of live games in person. And the best way to get tickets to any of the games is on Game Time, the official ticketing partner of FantasyPros Fantasy Football. For last minute amazing deals on tickets to see your favorite football team this September, download Game Time right now. And as you've heard us say before on this show, it's not just football. Game Time's got tickets for baseball games, concerts, comedy shows, you name it, they've got it all across the country. So download the Game Time app and redeem the promo code FantasyPros. And when you do, you get $20 off your first purchase. Sounds pretty good. The terms apply, but apply the $20 from Fantasy Pros. Again, download that Game Time app, enter that promo code FantasyPros, and it's all one word, and you get the $20 off no matter where you live. Get out there, have some fun this week. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Let's find some guaranteed buy lows here. Brian Drake, you're our guest. Go first. Give me a wide receiver you want to buy low on in week 2.
Oh, we've mentioned him already. T. Higgins. How can he do less? He literally had a 0. So you can find panicking owners in your fantasy leagues. And I know we joke on here no one would ever make that trade. Baloney. You folks out there watching, and there's hundreds of thousands of you that watch these videos and listen to these podcasts, you can find these guys in your league. Trust me. So he saw 8 targets. That's awesome. He's still at nearly 150 air yards. The Bengals threw for 85 yards. That's never going to happen again, okay? He's a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL, and at any point, if you can get a guy in that tier below cost, you do it.
I love it. Just immediately be aggressive. Go buy all the Bengals you can right now. Please, for the love of God, listen to this man, Brian Drake. Erickson, who should we buy low on in week 2?
I'm looking at DJ Moore, wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. So they brought him in to take Justin Fields to the next level. They're like, okay, it's going to be the next AJ Brown, the next Stephon Diggs. And then week 1 comes, 2 targets. Guys, what are we doing, man? Why you get this guy and you hype him up all offseason, then you give him 2 targets? What's going on now?
Well, it's like when you buy those Funko Pops and you don't want to take them out of the box because they lose their value. I feel like that's what the Bears feel like about DJ Moore.
Well, the Bears need to rewrite the script ASAP, or else they're going to get blown out again by the Buccaneers. So that's the matchup I like a lot. DJ Moore has seen this Buccaneers defense because he played on the Carolina Panthers. So he used to play this defense twice a year, and he had dominating performances. Last time he played the Buccaneers, he went over 100 yards, scored a touchdown. So I think we're going to get some squeaky wheel narrative where it's like, hey, we got to get DJ Moore involved. We need to get him the ball more in space. Enough of the Chase Claypool stuff. Please stop. don't give him the ball. He's giving up on plays. I think DJ Moore is in for a massive game. And again, this is when you want to buy the dip on some of these receivers, just naturally are boom or bust. So when you can pinpoint the guys that coming off bad games that can give you a boost to your lineup, especially as a starter if you're dealing with injuries, I think DJ Moore is probably a guy you can scoop up, start him this week, and then if you feel like you don't know what he's going to be like the rest of the season, like Mike Williams, just sell high after he has a big game, which I think could happen here in week 2.
Love it. T. Higgins, DJ Moore, 2 wide receivers to buy low on. Who should we sell high on? Andrew Erickson at the wide receiver position.
So I'm going to Michael Pittman Jr. So if you remember last year, Michael Pittman Jr. actually had a massive week 1, and it was a victory lap season, and it was like, oh, it's all going to work out. And then he got banged up, and then Matt Ryan happened, and it was a bad scene.
And Sam Ellinger happened too. A lot happened in Indianapolis last year.
It was a bad scene altogether. So Pittman had a big game here in Anthony Richardson's first start. But I'm a little bit skeptical of just how consistent Pittman is going to be. You look at what he did during that game, a lot of his production was tied to basically a 40-yard long catch and run. And Pittman really isn't someone that's a guy that really thrives with a lot of yards after the catch. Like he did it as rookie last year. He didn't really do it. And the year before that, he wasn't really a yards after the catch player. So a rare kind of 40-yard Deebo Samuel-esque touchdown. It's like, okay, is he going to be doing that week in and week out? Probably not. I'm still concerned with Anthony Richardson's accuracy in passing over a long term. Again, the Jaguars secondary is horrible. Like it is a really bad secondary. So that's not going to be the case every single week where he's facing literal Jags, essentially, as players. And
you've been saving that one up all day, haven't you?
And on the helmet. So I think that Pittman, who also had 1 target in the first half of that game, I think that he's a very volatile asset that you want to cash out on these boom or bust wide receivers after they have these massive games. And people are like, oh, like he'll be fine with Richardson. Like it's totally cool. It's like after 1 game, it's like he's a rookie quarterback. Like historically speaking, rookie quarterbacks are horrible for fantasy wide receivers. So I wouldn't necessarily change that script after he had 1 good game with Richardson against one of the worst secondaries in the NFL.
Yeah, I like where you're coming from with that. It makes a lot of sense. And by the way, speaking of that secondary for Jacksonville, they get Patrick Mahomes this week. So I expect Mahomes to rebound and some better catching of the football from some receivers. Not Tony. I don't want to see that guy ever again. No. Brian Drake, give me a wide receiver you want to sell high on right now. It's only week 2. It's never too soon. Who do you have?
When I initially wrote this up, it was Puka Nacua because his value will never be higher. He's a top 10 wide receiver after week 1. But after last night's Monday Night Football, Garrett Wilson. Now, Rodgers has already been diagnosed. It's a torn Achilles. He is done for the year. It has been confirmed. Okay, Garrett Wilson caught a touchdown pass last night with Zach Wilson. And that's exactly what you want to use to your advantage when you're hitting the streets selling him today. Garrett Wilson played with Zach Wilson for 9 games last season. 34 receptions, 447 yards, 0 touchdowns, less than 50 yards receiving per game, 8.7 fantasy points per game. That sucks. Okay? If you want hashtag analysis, there it is. Go out. You want to tell you guys in your league, listen, this guy's quarterback proof. Garrett Wilson's a stud. I got him in the first round. Listen, I'll take a little less to give him to you because I like you. I know that you're a guy with a good eye for value and upside. Here's Garrett Wilson. Why don't you trade me back? Oh, I don't know. Chris Olave. Give me something crazy. Throw an extra running back in there, by the way. Get out from under this Garrett Wilson train because it's going off the tracks real soon with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers out for the year. I know we talked about it earlier. There's speculation, but yeah, it's done. It's over. There you go, Jet fans. You can find them at your local watering hole. I would imagine at this point in time.
And you can't forget the brutal schedule either. It's just going to get worse.
Not to mention the next 6 weeks of the schedule are brutal. But on top of that, now also you're looking ahead to all the draft picks that you moved, like the deal that you moved to. So the all-in push, to get Aaron Rodgers. Man, oh man. Tough day.
There's always the Mets playoffs. Oh, no.
Hey, look, as a Met fan, I feel your pain, Jets fans. Like, I get it, man. It's that Family Guy meme that used to be around when he's like, hey, it's the opening day, it's the first pitch, and the season's over. That's usually the Mets thing. But now the Jets, the people who are Mets and Jets fans, I don't know how they exist. Like, I honestly, those are the toughest people in the world. You want to start a new colony on Mars? Those are the people you start with. The Mets and Jets fans.
That's the reason alcohol exists, is those people.
Probably. All right, let's get to our 3 and out here. and our listener mailbag right from our Discord, fantasypros.com/chat. Again, free to join, but you get AMAs, stages, and a whole lot more when you go premium. So go premium, fantasypros.com/premium today. Let's take this one from JMG24. Would you trade Antonio Gibson and I assume this is Khalil Herbert to get Javonte Williams? I know you're a Javonte guy here. Brian Drake, you make this move?
I pray it's not Justin Herbert.
I'm pretty sure it's not Justin Herbert. It's Khalil Herbert and Antonio Gibson. Again, full names are important here when you drop your questions.
Boy, two for one here.
I'm testing your belief in Javonte because you're a Javonte believer, so am I.
Okay, I'll do it. I mean, these are bad teams. Commanders stink. The Bears are awful. I think the Broncos will be better than they've been, and they're in a division where they're going to have to win a shootout every single week. You know what? Let's do it. Roll the dice. Give me Javonte.
I'm going to do it too. I want the guy who's got the upside to be the guy. I don't think Gibson or, as you said, the offenses aren't great, and you got Roschon, you got Brian Robinson there. It's muddy. Javonte Williams is better than Samaje Perine and whoever else they're going to throw out there. Andrew Erickson, this is a tough one. Two of your favorite things. This is from EC Morris 99. Ramondre Stevenson for Brandon Ayuk, half point 12-teamer. What side of this deal you want to be on?
Yeah, this is tough.
I mean, I like both these guys, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think that running back's a little bit tougher right now, so I think I'd probably take his side than Ayuk.
Yeah, if it was full PPR. The hard part is, again, I believe you that Stevenson's going to be a guy who's going to start to take more of those receptions back from
he's
whatever
going
we saw from Ezekiel.
to. Like,
he's
they
going
can't
to
give the ball to Zeke. Like,
no, you can't throw the ball to Zeke. That was a I don't know what film did they watch last year where they thought that was a good idea. Anyway, this is from Doom Boom Pro. I love this one. CMC and Amari Cooper for Hawkinson, Josh Jacobs, and DeAndre Hopkins. Drake, I feel like this is pretty easy. The best player in the deal is CMC, so don't you just want CMC?
You do. And I always love when folks ask this. If you look at the question, he finished it with who won.
Oh,
and
who
I get
won?
that. I always
Who
get
won the
that.
trade?
I get that all the time in my DMs. Guys are asking, hey, did I win this trade? And I go, God, it's not about winning a trade. You don't do a trade because you think you won or lost a trade. Did it make your team better?
Right.
Are you going to have a better fantasy football team because you made this trade? If you add Christian McCaffrey to your football team, your team probably just got better. Now, Josh Jacobs had a phenomenal year last year. No question about it. DeAndre Hopkins is 1,000,000 years old. TJ Hawkinson, he's okay. He's
like
one
Hawkinson,
of 4 tight ends who are healthy right now. Cooper is a little banged up, but give me CMC in any. I don't care who you're giving on the other side. Give me Christian McCaffrey. He was my 101 of all drafts, and I'm taking him.
Brian Drake, always great to hang out with you. Follow him on X at Drake Fantasy and check out his amazing work at Fantasy Points. He does such an awesome job there. Also, don't forget to download My Playbook, sync all of your leagues. You can set all your lineups from all the different sites just on My Playbook. That feature alone is worth the download. But of course, when you're trying to make trades, you got the Trade Finder, the Trade Analyzer, Trade Central, trade everything. Go find the best trades for your roster. Use the tools to help you do just that. That's what we're here for at Fantasy Pros. Gentlemen, this was a fun time talking trades. We'll be back again, of course, to do it all over again tomorrow. For Brian Drake and Andrew Erickson, that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. We'll see you next time, kids.